To the most honored and respected in the audience, thank you for being here. Mr. Shimomura Takuya, Chairman of the Asahi Glass Foundation, distinguished faculty of the University of Tokyo, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege for me to be here at Tokyo University for the 2022 Blue Planet Prize commemorative lecture. I would like to thank the Asahi Glass Foundation and everyone who has worked hard to make it possible for us to gather here at this esteemed campus to celebrate the outstanding contributions of two individuals to the resolution of environmental problems, His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuk, the fourth King of Bhutan, and Professor Stephen Carpenter. It is always a wonderful feeling to be back in Japan. We in Bhutan admire Japan as a great nation whose people define discipline, honor, and commitment to quality in whatever you do. We value the commonalities that bind us, and we are proud to call Japan a close friend. The last 2.5 years, the world faced an unprecedented global pandemic that caught most countries off guard and was a stark revelation of many of our weaknesses and strengths. The rapidly changing, technology-driven 21st century presents endless possibilities and opportunities to achieve new feats, and at the same time poses a multitude of unrelenting new challenges to human progress. To cite an example, advances in science and technology made possible the remarkable speed at which vaccines to treat COVID-19 were developed. Yet, due to slow and fragmented action, infection surged to more than 613 million people worldwide, and the official death toll surpassed 6.53 million this year. As we learn to live our lives under the new normal, we now have to brace ourselves for a global economic recession due to the compounding effects of the pandemic. It now becomes more difficult for countries to deliver on the promise of greater prosperity to their people. This, along with contemporary issues facing the world like climate change, poverty, conflict, and violence, once again reminds us of the intersectional and complex nature and the need for collective action by the international community to address them. In Bhutan's case, we sealed our borders and enforced strict measures to keep the onslaught of COVID-19 at bay. The first COVID patient was a visitor from the US who received the best care possible and who was able to return home safely to his family. As COVID testing and tracing lockdowns ensued, the government and the people, along with the king, worked tirelessly to put in place systems to mitigate the situation. Sealing our borders affected, as it did the world over, the economy, trade, tourism sector, and the loss of jobs and means of livelihood. The government mobilized, under His Majesty's compassionate care, a relief fund for those affected most and eased the burden of loan repayments and kept the country afloat through these unprecedented and trying times. We truly came together, better than we ever had before, to safeguard and to help each other. In the wisdom of His Majesty, a program he had initiated in 2011, the Desung, Guardians of Peace, proved to be a game changer. This program was developed to encourage citizens through volunteerism and community service, disaster management, and ultimately create a community that plays an active role in nation building. Today, out of our population of 700,000, there are 30,311 trained guardians of peace. During the last 2 years of the pandemic, the sheer number and dedication of the guardians of peace came as a blessing, as they volunteered wholeheartedly to assist the overburdened health sector, to help the food supply chain and service sector during the lockdowns, to spend months braving the cold, heat, and monsoon rains, to guard and patrol our porous borders. As of October, Bhutan has reported 21 deaths and 62,095 infections. The goal was that no lives should be lost, and although Bhutan tried its level best, the incoming waves of COVID-19 variants and the prolonged time frame were unforgiving. We face the challenges of being a landlocked country, and imports of goods were in short supply. Economic lifelines were cut, and we turned inwards to producing more food and focusing on the goal of self-sufficiency. It became a time of introspection, as the flaws within our system came in full view and exposure. For too long, we had lapsed on self-sufficiency, and therefore dependency and complacency had set in. The overstretched health sector, a weak economy, a large civil service, the need for education reforms, dependence on foreign workers, and many other issues were put into the spotlight. It was a timely revelation that came as a boon to us, as a clear sign that change was necessary in order to avert disaster and to build a stronger, a better prepared nation that could tackle and withstand the many challenges of the future. Countries all over the world are facing these challenges, and now continuing to find solutions and ways out of this global crisis. Out of great challenges and devastation, something wonderful came about, and that was the world coming together to help each other, and for a while, the planet saw regeneration, drastic reductions of pollution, and a reorganization of our priorities and values. Even if this memory may be fleeting and the outcomes as such, the epiphany of such truths is transformative. My talk today is a journey I'd like to take you on, the path less traveled, a story of transformative change is Bhutan's story. From understanding that Bhutan's growth came by design, the deep values define who we are, and adaptive to change, the transformations are being planned in preparation for our future. Bhutan's path is marked by the landmark contributions during His Majesty Jimmy Singhi Wangchuk's reign, and the values that were instilled in us that we hold timeless. During this time, Bhutan saw great progress: sustainable development, a pristine environment, proactive laws, democracy and our constitution, GNH, and good governance were all hallmarks. The fourth king conceived GNH in the firm belief that the purpose of development must at all times be to promote the contentment and well-being of the people. In Bhutan, development was taught best when incorporating all aspects: good government, social harmony, preservation of a pristine environment, preserving culture, and safeguarding the security and sovereignty of the country. GNH becomes truly meaningful when it is translated into national policies and priorities. Today, our Constitution mandates 60% of our land under forest coverage and entrusts every Bhutanese as a trustee of our environment. His Majesty the King resolutely carries on this legacy. Bhutan, with support from international partners, initiated Bhutan for Life, Asia's first finance model for permanently protecting the network of areas that contribute to human well-being and biodiversity conservation and to improve Bhutan's resilience to climate change. With climate change accelerating the negative impacts on the natural environment, Bhutan remains committed to strong climate actions on the ground through mainstreaming climate change into our development plans and garnering robust international cooperation. Our second nationally determined contributions reaffirm our commitment to remain carbon neutral for all times to come, and our low-emission development strategies support that commitment. In full support of the global movement to phase out ozone-depleting substances, Bhutan ratified the Vienna Convention for the Protection of Ozone Layer and the Montreal Protocol in 2004. Since then, Bhutan has committed to phasing out hydrofluorocarbons by 2025, 5 years ahead of the international schedule. But in spite of all our efforts, Bhutan faces multiple challenges and threats from climate change and climate-induced extreme weather, affecting the lives and livelihoods of our people. High up in the Himalayas, Bhutan's glaciers are fast retreating, threatening an increased risks of glacial lake outbursts. The biggest fear is that climate change will undo and derail all the socio-economic development gains achieved by delicate balance of development and environment over several decades by our visionary monarchs and leaders. The interconnectedness of this planet strengthen and sustain our resolve to progress in harmony with the environment. If Bhutan's journey and path inspires others to the right reflection and public policy deliberations, then we are encouraged to try harder and to do better. The fourth king of Bhutan is the author of GNH, the father of Bhutan's constitution and democracy, and above all, the nation's conscience. It could not, therefore, be more befitting that His Majesty the King, Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk, establish Bhutan's first and only law school in the fourth king's name, now known as Jigme Singye Wangchuk School of Law, JSW Law. In line with this vision of contributing to building a better future for the whole world, I'm happy to let you know that JSW Law will launch the Climate Change and Environmental Law Center of Excellence on February 21, 2023. After the launch of this center, a 2-day conference called the Paro Forum on the theme Climate Justice for Happiness will gather leaders and stakeholders from Bhutan and around the world to share lessons from Bhutan's experience with others and collect global and regional best practices to formulate collective solutions. Please look out for the Paro Forum early next year. Let us tackle the environmental challenges of the 21st century together, as only together we can. Recently, on September 23rd, Bhutan opened our borders after 2 years of observation and rethinking, with the decision to reintroduce a discerning policy of high value, low volume tourism policy based on the principle of holistic sustainability. The renewed vision for tourism sector consciously and deliberately places considerations for Bhutan's future and future generations at the forefront. Under the policies laid out by our visionary kings, from the very start of tourism in the 1970s, Bhutan has strived for a path, a road that is less traveled, to a destination that is pristine, exclusive, and rich in culture and heritage. Bhutan's tourism is unique in the world. In fact, our sustainable approach to high-value, low-volume tourism was a conscious, deliberate, and far-sighted vision. This has become even more relevant in the present context, which has forced nations to rethink sustainable development approaches as the new normal. The world around us is changing dramatically. Recurring pandemics, the impacts of climate change, and conflicts make our world volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. If we do not change ourselves, our systems, and upgrade our skills in tandem with these changing times, we will surely lag behind. There are several challenges, but there are also opportunities. Advancements in technology bring about sweeping socioeconomic possibilities. It is critical, therefore, that we seize these opportunities, enhance the capabilities of our people, and strengthen the economic and governance frameworks in order to leverage and harness technological prowess and ultimately ensure that our children inherit a peaceful, secure, and successful nation. Bhutan is in a period of transition. At the helm of this is His Majesty the King, who is engineering transformative change with the government and the people of Bhutan. The national resolve is now geared towards how to prepare and make our people future-proof and future-ready. What has now been set in motion is a dynamic process of nation building, a fundamental rethinking, reform, restructuring of Bhutan's education system, civil service, and governance to prepare our people for a resilient future. His Majesty has said that change is never easy, and the current transformation is our biggest challenge. His Majesty emphasized the need for Bhutan to find a niche, to aspire to something different, what others are not doing, and to find our place in this world. So, what anchors this transformation is the goal to make Bhutan dependable and trustworthy. In these modern times, talent is abundant, and therefore degrees, qualifications, and skill sets are losing their value. There are many who are bright, creative, and ambitious, but in these times, what is rare and most needed is trust. In the words of His Majesty, trust is the most expensive currency in the world. Due to the magnanimous leadership of His Majesty, the Fourth King, we are currently known all over the world as a dependable nation. Bhutanese are thought to be happy, caring, compassionate, loving, and kind. The country is well known for our values, environmental conservation efforts, and for following the philosophy of gross national happiness. The Fourth King has set the foundation, and now the time has come for Bhutan to learn how to use our good reputation to our advantage. Therefore, the inspiration that we seek to navigate the complexities of the 21st century challenges facing Bhutan is manifested in the timeless wisdom of His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuk, the fourth king of Bhutan, referred to as the Great Fourth. And today it continues to be advanced and consolidated by the clear-sighted vision of His Majesty Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk, the People's King, as he charts transformative change for a new Bhutan. In closing, I would like to convey that His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuk, the fourth king of Bhutan, would like to dedicate the prize to generations of Bhutanese who have given unstinted support and committed to preserving our natural environment, and to individuals and organizations from across the world who have made significant contributions towards the most pressing challenges that humankind faces today. The Blue Planet Prize not only recognizes these efforts, it also inspires a renewed commitment to conserve the environment. May Bhutan serve as an example of a path less traveled by, in consistent acts that build a better and safer shared world for our children. Thank you and Tashdile.